May the 19th, 2021. Our call to order concurrent at 6:05 p.m. Pursuant to Executive Order N-25-20 and also N-2920, members of the Planning Commission and staff are participating in this meeting via video link, Zoom, and/or teleconference. This is not an in-person meeting. Members of the public may observe this meeting on the City of Hawthorne website or on YouTube. We will now have the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Commissioner Caraballo.
Okay, right hand over your heart. Please begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Mr. Secretary, will you please call the roll? Madam Secretary, call the roll, please.
Sure. Chairperson Smith,
Yes, present.
Vice Chairperson Al-Shanable,
Present.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Present.
Commissioner Caraballo,
Present.
and Commissioner Richard.
Present.
Thank you. Oral communications. This is the time for oral communications. Because this meeting is not an in-person meeting, members of the public who wish to participate in the meeting were asked to participate by calling or emailing the Planning Department no later than 5:30 p.m. today, noting an item on which the member wants to speak. This information was provided on the agenda posted in compliance with the Brown Act on Friday, May 14, 2021. At this time, if there were any messages left for oral communication, staff will either read messages on behalf of those individuals who wish to provide written comments for oral communication, or invite members of the public who wish to provide oral comments to speak through the Zoom application. Remarks, whether written or oral, are still limited to 3 minutes in duration. Staff, is there any participation from the public for oral communications? So this would be the time for the public to address the Planning Commission and the airport zoning.
Yes, I believe there are speakers present, and there should have been some emails that were forwarded to you that we received prior to 5:30.
Yes.
Is there anything else to add, Melissa?
I did want to add two things. One is we did receive some emails. We forwarded those to the Planning Commission. If any member of the public wants to get a copy of those emails, please email the Planning Department and we'll provide that to you. That's one. And two, I wanted to just say that my understanding is that the folks who want to speak tonight during oral communication, they'll be talking on an item that is not a public hearing. That's why they're speaking during oral communication. And I also understand that some of them may have had questions. So just to kind of make things organized, what I would suggest is that if those folks are going to be asking questions of planning commissioners or of staff, Commission, could you please take note of those questions? And then when we discuss the item later on in the agenda, ask those questions of staff. Since they're speaking before the item and not during the item, it isn't a public hearing, we just want to make sure that those questions are answered, and the appropriate time to have those questions answered would be when that item is being considered. So I just ask commissioners that you just, if that happens, if there are questions, go ahead and write them down, and staff can address them when the item is considered. Any questions?
All good.
Okay. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
So I guess we can invite oral communications at this time.
Yes.
Right.
Who would like to be first?
I think, Debbie, you can just have the folks come in the order that they came.
Okay. Megan, then I believe is the first person. Megan Mitchell.
Hello, Ms. Mitchell. Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, great.
So good to see y'all again. I was here at your last meeting. I'm back because of the hotel modification, which is on the agenda. I came to you 2 weeks ago expressing concern that it seems the sole developer of these hotel zone was using the 3-year approval period as a delay tactic and using that time to buy up properties in this zone and later present a larger project, while also asking the city to vacate Acacia to allow them more space to develop. And today we find ourselves exactly in that position. Again, my neighbors and I aren't against like economic growth in the hotel zone. We just want to be able to coexist with it, you know, many years down the line from now. We would like to see a more welcoming and thoughtful development of this area so that in the future, homeowners and renters can happily exist here. And we think that's the planning department's job and the commission's job to really look forward to the future and shape what Hawthorne will look like, you know, 30 to 50 years from now. So in the staff referral, it is noted that the planning department spoke to the engineering department and they have no issue vacating Acacia to the developer for the additional 10 feet that they need to complete the new project, which is going to be smushing 2 hotels into a whole new thing. And I just find this really unsettling. I don't, you know, the property developer has been gathering properties for, you know, many years now, and they should be able to create something within those confines for their business. And I don't think they should rely on city property, such as a public road, to help, you know, hit their bottom line and make it the most profitable space imaginable. Earlier today, I met with my neighbors and we quickly gathered almost 50 signatures, which I think I sent in on time. And we care about, you know, having a future with the zone. And so we would love to see equal architectural design for all street facing sides of the building so that nothing's neglected or, you know, an eyesore. We'd like to see 10-foot setbacks with landscaping and trees on the property as well as in the parkways. We encourage the city to adopt a more strict ordinance to hold developers accountable, which is including you know, a fine or losing the rights to develop in the way that they want to if they don't take action in a timely manner. We do not support vacating Acacia to the developer. And then we also think that hotel parking should be on Acacia for hotels with Acacia access and kept off of 116th and Birch Avenue. And I hope that in 30 years from now, myself and my neighbors who will still be here are proud of Hawthorne and that area that's developed. And we hope we can hang out there and welcome our friends there and that we don't end up with a neglected property. And so I just want you to consider marking it as a new project so that can get the thorough public vetting and hearing that it would need, considering it is such a large development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carly Kirshen is your second person for oral communications.
Hi, y'all. My name is Carly Kirchin. I'm speaking on behalf of Unite Here Local 11, the Hospitality Workers Union today. First of all, I'll just say thank you to planning staff and the Planning Commission tonight for you know, very helpful responses today as we were engaging in this process. You know, I'd like to echo some of the concerns that the last speaker brought up. We are also looking at the hotel project on Acacia, and you know, we have some questions. You know, we understand, you know, the developer received approvals to construct the 2 linked hotels on neighboring parcels, but now they're asking to build just 1 hotel, which is larger than the 2 properties combined. You know, there's many changes to the project that we've seen since the original proposal, including an additional 35 hotel rooms, an additional story to the building, parking issues, which the speaker before me mentioned. And, you know, of course, right, the question before you all tonight, item N1 on the agenda is, you know, whether or not this should be considered a minor modification. You know, we really have questions about this. How could this change be a minor modification considering the changes to the project? And additionally, the developers proposing in this new iteration of the project that City of Hawthorne give up a 10-foot wide portion of a public street to the developer. And, public public lands, publicly accessible, open space, park space. This is something that is very near and dear to our union and our members. And so that is of concern to us as well. And I will mention, one of our union offices is just 2 blocks away from this project. We have over 1,000 members who live in the city of Hawthorne, many of whom work at LAX or in airline catering, supporting the LAX airport. So, we'll be watching this project closely, and I hope, we'll stay on for the deliberations. I hope to hear you all discussing these questions that I've mentioned tonight. So thank you very much for your time. Oh, and I'm so sorry, before I close, I just want to mention, I think I mentioned to city staff earlier today, there's a couple of our members who are on the line who are interested in speaking as well. They called into the phone line and left a voicemail, which is the instruction on the agenda. But I just want to make sure that they get in line. I'm happy to message their names to anyone, to the appropriate person. One of them is Linda Barrera. I can get other names for you as well. So I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To the chair.
Go right ahead.
I just want to be clear and make sure that we got the questions that Ms. Kirschman was asking, because I didn't. I just want to make sure that I heard the questions right. Could you restate which specific questions you wanted us?
Yeah, the main question, I think it's just the the topic of discussion this evening. It's just how could these major, what seem to be major changes be considered minor, minor changes for the purpose of the approvals process. It just seems like minor modification. We just have a question about whether it's appropriate in this instance.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else has joined out of the names I was given for oral communications.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Okay, then we will close oral communications. We now have the Planning Commission, Airport Zoning Commission consent calendar. There are no items this evening. So I'll recess the Airport Zoning Commission, and we'll have the Planning Commission consent calendar. Item number 1, consideration of Planning Commission and Airport Zoning Commission minutes for the regular meeting of April 7, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Yeah, make a motion to approve.
And is there a second? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Call for the vote, please.
I'm sorry, can I just interrupt? The motion was made by Commissioner Richard, and it was seconded by
Commissioner Ortiz.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, just it kind of went out for a second, and I want to just make sure that we're clear for our minutes later. Thank you. My apologies.
Okay, call for the vote, please.
Are we missing somebody?
Greg, call for the vote.
I'm sorry. Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Al-Shanable. Oh, you're on mute, ma'am.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz. Commissioner Ortiz, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Commissioner Caraveo
Yes.
and Commissioner Richard.
Yes.
Fine.
You got me? Okay.
Continued public hearings. Design review application number 2021 DR01. Now is the time and place to open the public hearing to consider design review application number 2021 DR01. Maria Maharek will present a staff report.
Good evening, commissioners. Let me just make sure that we can share my screen here.
Yes, we see it.
You see it fully?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Good evening, commissioners. I will be presenting design review application 2021 DRO1. It's a commercial property for a proposed Starbucks at 4235 West El Segundo Boulevard. And again, this is for a design review. The property is located on the northeast corner of Cedar Avenue and El Segundo Boulevard, and you'll recognize this building as it was the old Tacos Mexico building. Prior to that, it was actually a Taco Bell, from what I understand, and a Pop Taco before that. So quite a long history on this property with a restaurant use. The property is located in a C3 zone, which is a commercial zone, and these types of uses are permitted and are still permitted in this zone as of this date. This is the existing site plan for the existing Tacos Mexico site. And as I mentioned, it will be a proposed Starbucks with the drive-through. The drive-through is existing. The drive-through was established back when it was a Taco Bell at the time. So that particular section of this lot is not changing. The existing parking, which is 16 standard stalls and one ADA van accessible stall, will still remain on this site. But Starbucks is proposing vast improvements to this property. Here is an aerial view of the existing site with the Tacos Mexico building, looking in all directions, including a view from the alley, as you can see from the upper top left photograph, and the existing sign. I do want to point out that the existing sign will remain, and Starbucks will modify this sign. It will not be any taller or any larger. The height is going to remain the same, which is about 25 feet, which is what is still permitted in the code. I also want to point out these two areas here from the aerial. As you can see, these are the curb cuts. There's three. Two in front of El Segundo and one off of Cedar Avenue. And as you can see, there is absolutely no separation between the property and the alley. This is the proposed site plan. The Starbucks management will make vast improvements to the site. One of the things that I pointed out was the alley and the property itself. I've highlighted the areas, and I've also highlighted on the side what is highlighted and what is meant by that. So in the yellow, this area will have a wooden fence all the way across on this north perimeter of this property, and that will separate the alley from the Starbucks and will also protect these. There are residential uses behind here, right adjacent to the alley. So there will be no traffic going in and out of the alley to utilize the Starbucks facility. In addition, there was a concern about queuing of vehicles. Therefore, Public Works and the Planning Department work very closely together to make sure that we can alleviate any potential impacts that could occur. And one of the things that is going to be done is that the existing Tacos Mexico has their menu boards and order screens closer south on the lot. They are moving this closer to this area, this curb here. They're extending the curb and putting landscaping in this area. And that will allow for more queuing of vehicles. In addition, they are going to extend the landscaping in this area, and this will help with the cars going into the lot. And there's wayfinding arrows to make sure that there's one way in and one way out. And this is off of El Segundo. If vehicles enter off of Cedar, they will enter through Cedar and then make a right so that they exit off of El Segundo. This will help with the circulation of the site. In addition, in order to assist with the queuing, there are some designated parking spaces. Here on number 26, as you can see, this will be a drive-through overflow wait area for vehicles that customers potentially may order a whole lot of drinks, let's just say, sandwiches, all of these things that Starbucks provides to customers. And the vehicle can park here while their order is being prepared. We also have here on number 7, the ADA parking for accessibility for the Starbucks, and 3 additional parking spaces that will be designated for pickup orders. So all of these improvements and changes will help to move the vehicles through this site. In addition, let's see other improvements that are being done. They are extending the trash area as well. And you'll see in some of the photographs and renderings that they're having that match the Starbucks. I do want to point out that there are some amendments to the conditions of approval that we had to work through with Starbucks and Public Works and Planning. The condition of approval that you have currently in your resolution states H and I, where there's going to be an employer and attendant assisting the traffic. And also we had put in that there's going to be a handheld ordering device. It's understood that technology moves very quickly. Therefore, we've amended the condition to state that the tenant shall provide adequate measures, including but not limited to technological solutions, providing an employee and attendant to assist directing traffic if needed to mitigate the drive-through traffic backing into El Segundo Boulevard. So in essence, we've combined both of these conditions, but we've also left it open in case there's new technology that comes through. The second amended condition is very small. As you can see, it's N on your conditions of approval. And we just added or similar. And this is for those 3 parking spots that I mentioned that are for mobile orders. Okay. And so these are just the only changes. Everything else in your packet and the conditions of approval remain the same. The proposed exterior facade is, as you can see it before you, they will be utilizing different materials. They're going to be utilizing Scots pine to highlight this area of the counter and a pickup window, which is right behind this column here. You can't really see it, but it's right there. They will change the existing roof to a corrugated metal roof in a dark bronze. The doors and the windows will be black, and some of this area here as well. But most of the building will be painted mindful gray. All of the areas, if you recall from the Tacos Mexico building, are rounded. They are squaring this off. It's going to provide a more modern look to this building. And so here are some additional renderings. I mentioned to you the updated trash enclosure is going to match the corrugated metal roof. Here's an example of what it's going to look like. And the sign that I had mentioned. And on the other side of the building, there will be some perforated art pieces to break up this entire wall. So it's not just a wall. So as cars are driving through and waiting, they'll see a little bit of art, and then there's their pickup window. Okay, and this is the frontage of the building. And here you can see the other pickup window from this building. Additional items that that Starbucks is doing is that this whole area of windows, and I will go back to show you what I mean. This whole area here, if you can see that, those windows are all going to be open, such as the example below, to give customers the open area to be inside or out of the building. And the Scots Pine paneling, as I mentioned, is going to be all along the ordering area, the counter, and wraps around to the walk-up window. The Starbucks management is also updating the entire landscaping. Currently, the site doesn't really have a whole lot of landscaping. They do have some palm trees and a couple of ficus trees, which will remain on site. Starbucks is maintaining those trees and just supplementing the entire property with more landscaping to make it a lusher look and feel. And they are updating the lighting throughout the site as well, so it's not so dark. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt PC Resolution 2021-01 with the conditions of approval and the corrections that I had mentioned earlier. Approving Design Review Application 2021 DR01. And that concludes my staff report, Commission, if you have any questions.
Does the Planning Commission have any questions for the staff? This is time for questions of staff only. No one has any? Okay.
Yes, I have a question. Maria, you mentioned that the ficus trees are going to remain. Can you show me on the plan where those are located?
Yes.
Are they full size ficus trees, or are they like smaller?
I would say they're medium size. They're not giant trees. So they're medium. They're taller than me. I'm only 5'5", so they're a little tall.
Okay,
So
that's a large bush.
yeah. So there's two of those, as you can see from the site plan here, on the upper northeast corner of the property and over by the entry off of Cedar. That's where the two ficus trees are located. And then there's 3 palm trees just below. Can you see my pointer? I think so, right? No. Okay.
I can't, but I see the shape of.
You see the shape of the, yes,
yeah.
right by the 4 along Cedar, there's 2 palm trees.
Yes.
And then there's an additional pine tree off of El Segundo on the bottom right hand corner in that landscape box there.
Sorry, Maria, you said pine tree?
I'm sorry, not pine tree.
Okay. Ficus.
Palm tree.
Palm tree. Oh, palm tree. Okay.
Palm tree. I'm getting
Okay.
my trees confused.
Got it. Right.
So 3 palm trees, 2 ficus trees.
Thank you. Well, since the building has such rich history, disappointed that they didn't keep it in pristine condition, but not against them. Of course, I'm kidding. That's all. No, I have no further questions.
Okay. If I may, through the chair, Maria, for the drive-through, do you know if the dimensions are similar to the Starbucks that's on Imperial and Inglewood? Imperial and Hawthorne?
I don't know. Perhaps our Starbucks representative can answer that. I'm not sure if that's the case.
Because if that's the case, when I had my van, I always had to stop, reverse, and go back again at the curvature. because the dimensions were not wide enough for the van. Now I have a smaller car, it's easier. But I was just wondering if it was the exact dimensions. And you always saw like cuffs from the tires on the sides because it's really tight to maneuver. So I'm just wondering if it's the exact same directions, the exact same dimensions as the one that exists on, I believe it's Hawthorne and Imperial, right? Yes.
Right. There is another drive-through further north on Hawthorne Boulevard. That is correct.
I mean, that's the only question I need the answer to. And the other thing I need to say is I really appreciate the fact that they're using drought-resistant plants. I know that, you know, it's always better than using too much water. They're much easier to maintain and grow. So I just appreciate that.
Okay, is there any other commissioner that has a question for staff? Okay, no one? Okay, is the applicant present and do they wish to speak?
Yeah, hi everyone, this is
Hi,
Slade
everyone.
from Starbucks, and I can address the similarities and differences between the two drive-through lanes as the Hawthorne and Imperial really is a 12-foot, has a 12-foot lane, but it has two curbs. It's basically curbed on both sides. So because of these existing conditions were being maintained, we left the curb on the inside only. So the outside will be basically just a stripe with traffic bumps as a reminder of where that lane extent is. So it won't be a curb on the outside. So there will be kind of borrowed space as you need it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay,
But yes, that answered my question. Thank you.
okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to address the commission on this issue? Do we have anybody in the waiting rooms?
No one is in your waiting room for this item.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Are there any documents to place into the administrative record such as late communication?
Sorry, Commissioner Smith. Can I interject for a minute? I do have one more question for staff.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So at the Starbucks that is located on Hawthorne Boulevard and El Segundo, there is the area around that Starbucks, a cleanliness issue. It seems like they never wash the sidewalks. The area of the patio area, the exterior patio area is always dirty. Is there a requirement for this location that the area needs to be cleaned and maintained?
In the conditions of approval,
Well, either in the conditions of approval or in general, does the code, it doesn't seem to be the case for that location. Now, I understand it's part of a larger development, but it's definitely a problem there, and I'm sure that it doesn't become a problem here at this location.
so the Hawthorne Municipal Code does have provisions for maintenance of properties. And although it's not specifically stated within this particular resolution, we talk about maintaining the landscaping, we talk about maintaining the building itself. Let's see here, the graffiti specifically. We can add a condition to make sure that that is being followed, but the Hawthorne Municipal Code does have provisions for maintenance of properties, for trash and debris that apply to all properties throughout the city.
Yeah. And I'm a bit conflicted with this requirement because it doesn't seem to be a problem at, let's say, the Starbucks that's located in the, what is it, the shopping center where Costco is.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, it is a major problem at this Hawthorne location, which is right down the street. So, yeah, I think we should, I would suggest a condition like that, but I think we can do during the discussion period, since this is just for questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith.
Okay, you're welcome. Mr. Secretary, are there any documents to place into the administrative record such as late communication?
No.
Okay, thank you. Do any of my fellow commissioners have any final comments on this item or questions for staff?
Just through the chair, just the condition, I would ask to consider the condition that be placed to require, I don't know how to put it, but maybe cleanliness at all times at the exterior patio areas.
Commissioner, if I may, there is, if there isn't a provision in the resolution that says that the applicant needs to abide by all state and local laws, including the Hawthorne Municipal Code, we can add that, and that should cover everything, because there are provisions in our code that would address this. So that's what we could do. That's what we could add if it's not in there.
Okay, I would be agreeable with that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I now formally close the public hearing on this item. Call on my fellow commissioners for a vote. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
And is that motion to
With the condition.
approve with the added condition, if not,
Yes.
if not already
If-
placed, be added?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Secretary, please call for the vote.
Yes, Chairperson Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Al Shanable,
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Caraveo,
Yes.
and Commissioner Richard.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, new public hearings. There are no items under new public hearings. Well, now I'll recess the Planning Commission, call back to order the Airport Zoning Commission. Airport Zoning Commission consent calendar, there are no items. Airport Zoning Commission new continued public hearings, there are no items. So now I'll call back to order the Planning Commission concurrently with the Airport Zoning Commission. Non-public hearing items. Hotel modification interpretation 11519 Acacia Avenue. Now is the time and place to open the public hearing to consider design review application number 2021
Commissioner
RO.
Richard?
Commissioner.
I sent there was a revised script we sent. This isn't a public hearing item. This is a non-public hearing item. And so really it's just,
Sorry, yes, that's a mistake, yeah.
And if I may, Chair, I just wanted to ask Debbie once again, did anyone else join the waiting room, Debbie, that wanted to speak during oral communication and maybe didn't get to our meeting on time?
No one has joined the meeting room since the waiting room since the meeting started.
Okay, and then I just, this is a little bit unorthodox, but we did get a number of people emailing, and I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to speak. I was going to ask Ms. Kirchen if she's still available. It looks like there was some confusion. Ms. Kirchen, was there anyone that, you said that you mentioned you had some names. If there's anyone that you believe still wanted to speak, if you give me their name and their phone number, we can call them and do it that way. There's some confusion on the agenda as to whether we're calling them or they're calling in. So I apologize for that, but I know there were a lot of emails and I don't want anyone to be left without having the chance to speak. And so they could have spoken during oral communication, but we can also give them a chance now with the commission's permission to speak at this time, just to make sure everybody had a chance to make their comments. So if Ms. Kirchen, if you have names I'll take the names and call them. Or if you'd like, you can call them and put them on speakerphone yourself, and we can do it that way. Okay, sounds like that's a yes. Commissioners, is that okay if we do this? Just to make sure that everybody had a chance to speak, and there was some confusion on the agenda, so I don't want anyone to be left out.
No problem.
Yeah, it's
No,
fine.
okay, as long as everyone's, the unanimous consent situation, so if everyone agrees, then we'll go ahead and do it that way. Okay, so Ms. Kirshen, if you want to go ahead and call, the speakers will get 3 minutes, and just put them on speakerphone so that everybody can hear.
Absolutely. The other thing I could do, if it's okay with you all, I could send people the Zoom link right now and they could hop on.
It's whatever's easier. It might be faster actually if you just call them, and that's how we used to do it before.
That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do. I'm so sorry. We have not really engaged in public hearings in Hawthorne, so I really appreciate support. So I'm gonna call some folks right now. I'm gonna go on mute for just one moment while I get them
No
on
problem.
the line, and then I'll go ahead. Okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
So we'll do that. This is not a public hearing item, but just a little refresher on the Brown Act. Brown Act requires that we allow people to speak either before or during the consideration of the item. So this is what we're doing. It's Brown Act communication, not public hearing communication. And then what we'll do is after the speakers speak, Mr. Tsuchiuchi will present the staff report, and then we'll have motions and do it that way. Sorry for the confusion, everyone.
Okay, then Melissa, we're just gonna sit here and
We're
wait.
just gonna wait for her to give her a moment, and then she'll put the speakers on the phone for us. And then we'll have Greg do his report and go that route. I think she's trying to come back on because she's on mute.
All right, I have on Linda Barrera. She's ready to give her comment.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Barrera. You have 3 minutes.
Wait. Can't really hear.
Can't hear her.
Yeah, we can't hear Ms. Kirchen. Can you put it a little closer to the speaker?
Sorry, I'm very, very close to the speaker. I think if you all don't mind just waiting one moment, I think it might be a little bit easier to get people on Zoom, and that way the audio won't have problems. So I'm going to go ahead and send the link out to folks, and then they'll be hopping on really quickly here. I appreciate your patience.
That's fine. So what we can do then is it's 6:48 right now. How about we give them about 5 minutes? Can we just take a quick break, and then we'll come back online in 5 minutes? Is that okay with the commission?
That makes sense.
Or how long is the presentation? Maybe we can start the presentation and then after presentation get the comments.
We can do it that way as well. It's really up to you. That's fine.
Yes, there is no presentation. I'll do the staff report and we can go from there. Do you want me to go ahead?
Greg, do you want to do your staff report then? Just kind of.
Sure. Yeah, why don't I go ahead and do that? So, Planning Commission, the item before you is concerning 11519. It's a hotel modification interpretation. This is being brought before you. I thought it prudent. The commission decided on the previous 2 hotel projects, so I just thought it'd be appropriate to bring it to the commission for their interpretation. The proposed project or modification that's being asked is to combine 2 hotels into 1 hotel. It's, as staff looked at it, we looked at it as a better planned project. So just a little background, back in January of 2017, 1 hotel was approved at the 11501 Acacia location. That was to be a Best Western hotel. And then in December of 2018, a second hotel was approved to be built at Garden Inn Hotel, which would be located at 11519, south of 11501 Acacia Avenue. combined, this new single hotel would then take on the address of 11519 Acacia Avenue. And so the applicant is already entitled to build these two projects. He has the opportunity for a better project, a larger project by Hilton Garden Inn Home 2 to replace those two. And so there needs to be an interpretation made, whether it's considered what type of a modification. It could be considered either a minor or a modification, which means a new project. Both interpretations are appropriate. It's an interpretation, so whether it's interpreted as a minor or a new project is both appropriate. Some of the guidance that is given in other cities, sometimes they provide guidance for staff, such as, no more than 20% increase in size or some sort of a formula to make that determination. And in Hawthorne's case, we don't have that guidance, although they do provide a couple of references to keep in mind while we're seeking interpretation. And then one of them is that that they shall be held to the minimum requirement for the promotion of the public health, safety, comfort, convenience, and general welfare. And in the case of a specific plan adopted by the city, the provisions of the specific plan shall control. And as you already know, this is a hotel hub, hotel hospitality area designated by the downtown Hawthorne specific plan. So just a brief, you have the staff report. You've seen the differences listed in a table, but I'll just go over them real quick since there's some members of the public. In summary, the single larger Hilton Garden Inn Hotel Home 2 is slightly larger in footprint dimension by 10%, 4,200 square feet. It also increases the available on-site parking by 64 spaces, or about 45%. So it's also 1 story higher. It's 1 story higher because of the second floor, which is more on-site parking. So that's why you have a height increase. They're actually providing more on-site parking. It maintains the same driveway access points as the 2 hotels combined. There's one on 116th, closer toward Hawthorne Boulevard, and then the other one is on the north side access point. There's an increase in rooms by about 13%, which is 35 rooms. And it encompasses an existing swimming pool that was already built to the north. There's also internal design layouts, lobby areas, parking layout, and whatnot. The increase in size requires a partial street vacation. It's actually about a 10-foot wide width. I have an error in my staff report. I say that it goes the length of Acacia, and that's not true. It only goes about 144 feet as I measured. It's not the entire length. I think I have it runs the length of Acacia Avenue at 302, and that's not correct. It only runs about 144 feet. And so with all those things in mind, with the applicant as it stands now, if he were to receive this minor modification, his entitlements would continue on the path of expiration by December. And then he would still be able he would then continue on with this new type of development. The street vacation would go before the city council for their final approval. So with that, staff is looking for the commission to make an interpretation. And if you have any questions, staff can answer them.
Before the commission deliberates, it's 6:54. We gave about 5 minutes for speakers to come in. So Debbie, if you could let people speak in the order that they have called in, if they have.
2 individuals were added. The first one is Linda.
Okay, great. You can go ahead and let them in.
Good evening. My name is Linda. I work at LAX. I was laid off due to the pandemic time. The city should not give up public street spaces and allow changes to the project as a minor modification. It should treat these proposals as a new project. Thank you.
Thank you.
The second individual is Maria, and I'm sorry if I destroy your name, Mazariegos.
My name is Maria Mazariegos. Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Mazariegos. I'm working for Here Local 11, but I talking today because we have a thousand workers laid off right now, and the city should not give up a public street space and allow a minor problem. I want to talking about because my personal problem. I live in the middle with Friday in Houghton. The problem, I don't have a problem right now, but the big problem right now in with city with the Houghton in Fridays, in Friday Street we have a couple of we have the forum in events in this street. In Houghton City, we have in the middle couple of schools. My job is very close to my house in 4 minutes. But when we have students going to school, I have to go out at 45 minutes early because I have a lot of problem in the traffic. We have a lot of problem. I don't have an option to go in with Friday. I don't have an option to go in with Houghton. It's very important to before to approve or to open this hotel to thinking about the neighbors because we have very difficult problems in traffic for different streets. I talking about with my community because we have a lot of members in the area and we have a lot of problems. And if we're not thinking about with it's not only the traffic problem, it's the parking lot. We have a lot of homeless people around with this city. It's very difficult for the people. Thank you so much.
There are no other speakers.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. And thank you, Ms. Kirchen, for facilitating that.
Okay, so does the Planning Commission have any questions for staff? This is the time for questions of staff only.
I had a question.
Go ahead, sir.
I was trying to see were there any public comments when these projects came about or were approved?
We had staff looking into that. Art, do you know what the final resolution was on that?
No, I don't. I don't know if staff was able to retrieve the resolutions and minutes from those years, so I haven't received any emails back.
I know you requested late in the day. We attempted to bring up the old minutes and whatnot, but it doesn't appear we were able to recover them before this meeting. Maria, do you know of anything, whether Nicole was able to bring those up?
She wasn't able to look for them quickly enough. We needed a little bit more time to research and see what comments, if any, were submitted at that time.
I was around when these projects were considered by the Planning Commission, and I do recall some of the concerns from the neighbors were traffic on that is it 116th Street or 118th Street?
116.
Yeah, that and the adjacency of the hotel to the street or to the sidewalk was another one of the concerns. So I recall that we made some conditions, but yeah, I don't remember.
I do recall, I did speak, when I was speaking with our engineering staff, they recalled that the condition was that the hotel driveway access off of 116th be pushed further to the maximum to the west, toward Hawthorne Boulevard, because right next door was already a commercial center at the corner. And so as traffic came to 116, they were pretty much just in front of commercial before they had to turn in. So it didn't affect the residentials as if you moved the driveway to the east along 116. The further east you move the driveway, the more it potentially could affect residential. So they moved that driveway all the way to the west to avoid that. And this design also maintains that same driveway location.
So through the chair, is this just questions and then we're going to have a section for discussion, or is this all questions and discussion?
Questions for staff.
Okay.
That's for staff.
Since this is not a public hearing, if this is time for questions, but then immediately thereafter, you can go ahead and have deliberation, and then someone can make a motion. That'll be the procedure. So I guess my suggestion is everyone go around and ask their questions, but then you can immediately start to discuss.
Gotcha.
Melissa, I think we should allow the applicant the opportunity to speak before.
We can. It's not a public hearing, so there's no public testimony taken from the applicant. But if you'd like to hear from them, we can do that as well.
Yes, the applicant is here and is able to speak if the commission would like.
Let's do it. I think Commissioner Asanabe had a question first, and I do as well.
Thank you, sir. Yes, thank you, sir. I do have two questions, if I may. Two of the speakers mentioned, and please forgive me if I'm failing to make the connection. They mentioned the layoffs. I don't know how that relates to the hotels. Like both of them mentioned that there was a lot of layoffs, and I just failed to make a connection of what impact that has on the hotels. And my other question is, with the combining of the hotels into one, if parking is an issue, is it my understanding that the new combined hotels are adding 64 spaces for parking?
Yes, so to answer your second question first,
Yes.
there is, one of the benefits of this project is that it does add additional on-site parking. Rather than having to use off-site parking or that parking structure. It adds on, I think, 64, almost double the number of on-site parking spaces. As far as the layoffs, the two hotels aren't built yet. So if they were laid off from hotels, I would just say it must not have been of any of these hotels. I know they mentioned a hotel union. Someone mentioned a hotel union. So I don't think the layoffs, well, definitely the layoffs weren't in relation to this project.
Okay.
Because there's no operating hotels at this location right now.
Okay, and the last thing that I need to ask, whether the hotel is going to take a portion of Acacia or not. Under whose authority is it to decide that yes, they can?
So the process in requesting a street vacation, they would go ahead and make that request through planning. We consult with our engineering. Eventually it gets back to the commission and it will go to the city council for final approval.
So the city council has to approve any time that the street is incorporated or given to any developer?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And just to reconfirm, the hotel building in itself is allowed by right?
Yes, this is the hospitality hub area identified by the downtown specific plan.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. These are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, I have a comment to make. When I looked at the staff report on the over aerial view, where you had the red line circling almost the whole block, That really threw me because that gave me the appearance that you were planning on taking out those other residences on Acacia, south of the hotel. But that's not, am I correct that that is not, that's just, you went too far with the line where it should have drawn?
South of the hotel.
That area, isn't it about the area where they have the cul-de-sac fence up?
Where the cul-de-sac. So there's a vacant lot. I just got on Google right now. And so to the, if I look at that cul-de-sac, that is a vacant lot, and then to the north is a swimming pool. Is that what you're talking about, where the Holiday Inn Express is?
No, I'm talking south
of that. I believe there are residential units at that location, but that's something maybe the applicant would be better able to handle. I don't know if they're currently vacant or if he has tenants there or not. And but I do want to make one correction to Vice Chairperson Al-Shanable. Since it has over 100 rooms, it does require a CUP. So I believe those other hotels, this has a CUP. It's a CUP to allow this.
Okay.
Even though it's in the hospitality hotel district, it still would require that.
Thank you, sir.
Are we still, okay, so I had a question, or go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to clarify for Commissioner Smith that I think what he's talking about, the southern portion where the residential is, those were part of the original project. The hotel up to 116th Street.
Yes, so that was I believe the second hotel project you approved in 2018. That's where it was going to be. The first hotel was going to be where the vacant lot was. And now the single hotel will just encompass the same location. It's just one hotel rather than being integrated as the commission amended back in 2018.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that now after I asked the question. So, okay.
Gotcha. Okay. So other question of staff. So now we've talked a lot about this street vacation here that's going on, and in the staff report, I was having a hard time actually getting a visual of where and how much of that street that was being vacated, and I think once we get that, we'll get to my second question: is what exactly we need to vacate the street for this project. So maybe we can get a little clarification there.
Sure. So it's a 10-foot wide width, starting from approximately 116th Street, and then going north to the end of that parcel where that residential is before you hit the cul-de-sac.
Oh, okay.
That's where the 10-foot street vacation is needed. So about half the combined lots would be it. In my staff report, I said 302 feet, the entire length of both lots, but it's only half that they would need that 10-foot width from. And so the process, this is something that planning staff goes and consults with our engineering staff, Public Works, and we've done that. It then comes back to the Planning Commission, and then it will go to the City Council for final approval whenever we do some sort of a vacation.
Gotcha. Just so maybe this makes more sense now that I'm looking on Google here. So as it stands right now, that makes the cul-de-sac, right? So the vacation would go on the opposite side of that. So that would the idea be to remove that kind of barrier in the middle of the street and then move it back to allow the project to go forward, or because that would look like then we'd be vacating streets that it's right in front of what looks like residential properties here. Is that what the intent there is, or am I missing something?
Yes, that street vacation would be in front of those multi residential across the street. Currently, it's 38 feet across. And with the street vacation, it would then become 28 feet. That still leaves 8 feet for on-street parking on the residential side, along with 10-foot for bidirectional traffic. And that is, I'm talking to engineering, that's not uncommon in Hawthorne. We do have narrow streets. So I think that is why they were not, they were fine with doing this sort of a vacation for this project.
And then I guess my last question might be of the applicant, of what actual function is that serving? Just so I can get a clear, I just want to have a clear understanding of exactly why we feel like the project can't go forward without said vacation.
According to the site plan, it does allow for additional parking. There are some power lines from SCE that run on the the west side of the property line, that they would prefer that the hotel be moved further away, I believe a 10-foot distance. And again, I would defer to the applicant again, away from that. So I believe there's a little offset from this second floors and up, or third floors and up.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Okay, anybody else have any other comment?
I do, if we're on to comments, I do have a comment. The fact that we have multiple revisions, honestly, I think the street vacation is probably the least concerning, but you know, there are a lot of revisions to this. One of the things that does bother me is the additional rooms, which increases the height. I mean, that they're providing additional parking, that's good, but it increases the height. So now we really don't know what the hotel is going to look like. So it could potentially change the look of the hotel. I'm really not sure what that would entail. I think there's too many changes, and I would personally consider this a major change and not support the ruling of a minor change.
I do have a, you know, we only had a hard copy of the rendering, but if it'll help, I can just grab it and show it on my camera. Maybe that'll give you a better visual.
It's not really, it's really more than that. It's that I feel that we should have the opportunity.
There we go.
That we should have the opportunity to review the project as a whole, look at the design again, and make sure that it's still in compliance with the surrounding area.
So the additional floor, I don't know if I recall mentioning it, but it's really, the second floor is all parking. And so that's why the height increase, it provides almost double the amount of on-site parking.
Anyone?
Are we just in discussion now?
Yes.
There's the applicant, I believe he'd like to speak.
Yeah. Debbie, is the applicant available to speak?
Yes, and I asked him to unmute. I believe he has.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The staff did an excellent presentation, and I think the new hotel is going to be one of the greatest in the surrounding area. It's going to be Hilton Garden and Home 2, which is one of the top-notch hotel. And then I think that would improve the city, the area, and create more job and opportunity for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. All right.
I have a question regarding the agenda. Melissa. Okay.
You're on mute.
My question is, since this is not a public hearing, can we just go to just discussion by the commissioners, And then,
We typically, if it's not a public hearing, there's no public testimony taken, and we typically have a discussion and then a motion is made. Procedurally, you can have a motion and then do your discussion. Either way is fine, but so either is appropriate. Someone could make a motion or someone can just continue to ask questions or have discussion. It's not a public hearing, and I don't think that the script provided you with the type of motion that you should make. So if someone wants to make a motion, it would be a motion to have Mr. Suchiuchi make an interpretation of the code that it is either a modification or a minor modification. And so what would happen is that'd be the motion. If there were a second, then that's what we do. Mr. Suchiuchi would prepare that interpretation and then move forward accordingly. So I don't know if that answers your question, but you can do discussion, you can do a motion and then discuss the motion. Either way is fine. But if a motion were made, it would be to either consider this a modification or minor modification. You have to determine which way you'd like to go with that. And just so you have the authority for it, in the municipal code, there's a provision 17.06.020 regarding interpretation. And it says the planning director has the authority to interpret any provision of this title whenever the planning director determines that the meaning or applicability of any requirement is subject to interpretation, which is what he has noted. The planning director may issue an official interpretation. The planning director may also refer any issue of interpretation to the planning commission for their interpretation. So that's what we're doing now. It's 17.06.020A. Mr. Suchiuchi is referring the interpretation of that section regarding modification to you. Based on the facts that he's given, he's asking whether the changes would constitute a modification, which is a new process, or a minor modification, which is not. And you can make that interpretation. So that's what the motion would be, is to have that interpretation made, one way or the other.
Yes, and I just thought it appropriate because you made the decisions for the other two. Otherwise,
And it is subject to interpretation. Mr. Suchiuchi has determined that it is subject to interpretation. So it is within your purview to go ahead and, you've been referred this interpretation, to go ahead and make that interpretation.
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes.
So Melissa, if I'm understanding correctly, it also could have been up to Greg to make that decision, but he chose to bring it to us. Okay, I just want to.
That's correct.
yes, I just thought it appropriate, being that you made decisions on the other two. But you know, this street vacation, if that's what's tying it up, it does go before the council anyhow. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
okay, then would you like to, commissioners, would you like to have some more discussion on it?
Yeah. I guess, yeah, we see where everybody is. Since we're not once hopping up, I don't see how, given the project or the report that we were just given right now, that we could see this in any way other than a modification. It's not like, this isn't consistent with what I would consider a minor modification. We have a new floor, we have more rooms here, we're adding a vacation to the street, we're putting new parking, like all of those things doesn't, or to me, is what would qualify as a modification or as a new project. And I will leave it at that for that point right there, so we can discuss.
Okay, thank you. Any comments?
I mean, I think I agree. Minor modification might, maybe number of rooms, parking. I feel that it's not minor. I mean, that's my personal opinion. And I mean, I don't know if it's too late to ask a question, but if we do decide that it's not minor, does that mean that the applicant has to apply all over again?
Yeah.
It's a whole new process.
Yes.
So the whole new process, the whole new fees, everything?
Whole new thing.
And then, of course, with the 3-year expiration and whatnot, as a minor, he would still be held to having to pull his permits by December, or submit his application for permits by December.
And then come back to the planning commission for approval on the new project, come back.
Public
Yeah.
hearing, whole thing.
It would be a whole thing. And I believe the concern of the applicant is losing the potential license for this.
Now, if I may comment on this, I mean, there's a lot of projects, hotel projects that, and some of the residents have expressed this, that, the commission has approved, and they sit vacant for years, especially around this area. So, yeah, I think we're not doing the city any favors by identifying this as a minor modification. I mean, it's already the 2 projects that we approved previously. We approved them in 2017, I believe, something like that.
Yeah.
And so, at the last minute now, it seems like the applicant is coming before us to consolidate these. And, what's the guarantee that once it's approved, it's not going to sit again for another couple of years until it's close to expiring, or it'll let it expire. So I don't think it is justifiable to do that, especially given the fact that the hotel is going to look different. I think it's important that we do have the opportunity to look at the hotel comprehensively again, since it is being proposed as one single hotel. So,
just for clarification, maybe I didn't say it right. The applicant would have to pull permit applications by December this year. If not approved as a minor, it would go through the new process and then have a 3-year expiration again. And so you would have potentially vacant land sitting another 3 years. With a minor, he would have to submit his application for permits by December.
correct, yeah, but it's not, my point is that it's not guaranteed that he will. It could be that the deal falls through and it doesn't happen, so then, we're back to square one, so. Yeah.
Maybe something you want to ask Mohammed, do you want to comment on that?
Before we go to the applicant, I just wanted to chime in on that as well. Well, I completely understand. I get your concern, Juan, because I feel the same way, that if by approving this as a modification, which it is, we are extending potential, like in theory, we're extending it until 2024. As of right now, he has the time to do that. Whereas if we make this a minor modification, he has to pull the permits by December 15th. While it is in our best interest, we should see this as a modification. I believe the last time we spoke about entitlements, that we have 3 years on it, but we do have the jurisdiction, Melissa, catch me if I'm wrong, to change the amount of change the length of time on those entitlements, because because we are revisiting it. So the second part of what I wanted to say previously was to think, if there's a concerted effort, we already think that he would be able to achieve these permits by December. Why is it that we can't say, well, we see this as a modification, but we're going to allow only 1.5 years for you to continue for you to get through the process, rather than leaving 3 years there for it to sit vacant for that time? Does that make any kind of sense?
Of course. Yes, and I think your question was about, I'm sorry, Mr. Pornamdar, the question was about the approval expiration. So the provision says they expire 3 years from the date of the final decision, unless otherwise stated in the resolution. So you're correct about that. I mean, the other cities, 1 year, 2 year, we have 3 years, but we built in a little bit of leeway in our own code. So I think that was your question.
Yeah.
I think our code doesn't allow for extensions, where other cities may have 1 year they would allow 2 one-year extensions, or they would allow 2 years and then one-year extension. So I think we're getting to the same endpoint as other jurisdictions. It's just how are we wording?
Yes, and based on this wording, it seems like it would be within our purview to say that we think while we are making this a modification, we're allowing the entitlement to only last 1.5 years, which would be half the time that it's been there. Seeing as given the history of the project, it's already been like looked over and checked over times. We assume that 1.5 years should be enough time rather than allowing it to sit vacant until 2024.
Well, it sounds like if we are approving, saying interpreting this as a modification, that it means that they require a new application. Is that correct? Okay, because I know I've worked for some cities and we have, I guess, 3 different interpretations. It's either considered a new project, a modification, or a minor modification, where a new project is completely different. A modification, you would just bring it back to Planning Commission for those changes, to recommend whatever changes and get the approval for that. And then the minor modification would be just something at staff level. But it sounds like, so here it's just, if it's a modification, it's considered a new project basically. And then go ahead, Art.
So the code just simply states the modification shall be subject to the same procedures as the original application, including public hearing, notice requirements, and appeals.
Okay.
The applicant shall remit the required fee when the application for modification is submitted. That's it. So it's basically the same same process that it went through before.
Okay, so it's not necessarily a full new application. It's just a modification to that existing application.
Yeah, but exactly. But at the end of the day, it's the same process. It's still going to be evaluated, public hearing notices, staff reports, and Planning Commission meetings.
Yeah.
We don't have a third here in Hawthorne, right? Like you said, most cities have a new project, major modification, minor modification. We just have minor modification and modification, and modification in our code is really defined as a new project.
Okay. And then so are they paying modification fees, or would it be a new project fee?
It would be the entire process again.
Okay.
So those fees that he's already paid for 2 other hotels would be paid again for a single hotel.
Okay. And then I did agree with the rest of the commissioners that I wouldn't feel comfortable considering this to be minor, especially with all the changes that are being proposed. And I feel like we should have an opportunity to review it and make some comments and on the project and bring it back for public hearing, so that way the residents can also deliberate and give us some additional feedback. So I would consider this to be a modification.
Yeah, I go along the same thing. I think it really is a new project. So it would be a modification, and we need to see something about it.
Applicant had something to say earlier.
I was just going to say, yeah, I answered the question, but I think Mr. Pornamdari wanted to make a comment.
Yes, Your Honor. The process of going through Hilton Garden, Home 2, get those approval, that's a very lengthy process. We don't they got to do the area study and then do their own study and then come up. That's what the project took a little time. And then on my side, I assure you, anything we could do to make sure that project would start building in a timely manner, I guarantee that, and we do that. And then anything, we certainly want to build it. That's why we went through all these headaches. We pay all this franchise fee to Hilton Garden, to Home 2. And this is, one of the greatest franchise around the area. It's not like we were taking our time. The process is a timely process. And in anything we could assure you we're going to build it on a timely fashion, I would do that. Thank you.
As I think about it, maybe that was the comment from the union, I don't know, maybe that's what they were trying to tie it into, that jobs available. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just came to my mind.
Okay, well, I would like to, I would propose a motion, if it is a motion, to consider it a modification.
I'll second.
So it's a motion to have basically Mr. Tsuchiuchi prepare an official interpretation. It's actually coming from the Planning Commission, but it's an official interpretation that this project, 11519 Acacia Avenue, will be considered the changes are a modification pursuant to 17.06.100 modification. So I just want to clarify what the motion is. We would go ahead and prepare that. And I did hear a second. Did I hear a second? I may have interrupted a second.
Yes, it's for me.
Okay.
I want to get a clarification about that motion.
Yes.
So if this motion carries or motion passes, what happens at that point? Does staff come back with a draft resolution to let us know what's going on next, or is that now the direction in which the applicant should move forward?
Right. So no, there's no resolution. This is an official interpretation, and whenever the department does an official interpretation, it's literally a letter put on city letterhead that is placed into a file. So that's what we would do. We would prepare that. The applicant would have an opportunity to appeal that as well, because decisions of the planning director are appealable. Decisions of the planning commission, stepping into the shoes of the planning director, is also appealable to the city council. So that would be also applicable, but it isn't a resolution. It's basically a letter that's prepared.
Got it.
Kind of summarizing this.
Thank you.
So, Melissa, if I may, through the chair. So if it's appealed and the city council decides that it's a minor and not, like if they revoke what we decided, does the project have to come back to us, or is it just automatically approved?
If it's appealed to the city council and the city council disagrees with the interpretation, and the interpretation basically would be that that would mean that it's minor, there's only two options, right? Modification or minor. So that would mean that it's minor, and then the applicant would proceed accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, as a minor modification. That's how I would interpret it. It wouldn't come back to you if that was your question.
Yes, that was, yes, thank you.
No, because also a minor modification means that it's done, it's the decision of the planning director, and it's all done basically over the administratively. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, can we call for the vote? Mr. Secretary, will you call for the vote, please?
Yes, Chairperson Smith.
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Alshanable.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Commissioner Caraveo.
Yes.
And Commissioner Richard.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you.
And just for the record, because we do tend to, we have it on the resolutions, the appeal rights, but there's no resolution here. So there, the appeal provisions are in 17.06.070A, and the decision is appealable within 10 days.
Okay, thank you. Next is administrative items, and there are no items. And next is items to be placed on future agendas. Pre-agenda for the meeting of June the 2nd, 2020. As a general plan amendment 2016 GP03 and change of zone 2016 CZ05, a veterans housing project. APN 4051-030-016. Second item, agenda is zone text amendment, mixed use development standards. And third item is exterior color approval, multifamily, 1161. Okay, and then we'll now move on to commissioner reports. Commissioner, do you have anything you want to report? Here's your chance.
Go for it, Jason.
Okay. So I noticed some of the people, and I had mentioned it before, because the current code and as far as like the hotel specific plan area and also the general plan really isn't clear on how we want that hotel area to look or how to be developed. That's why I had referenced the general plan when I was making some of my arguments. But I feel like we do need to have some type of guidance or some type of update to that specific plan area to include like design and development standards or some policy and goals for that area. That way it gives the applicant more guidance on what we're looking for, and also staff when they're making recommendations, to go based off of those standards that we can give them. And it probably also, speed up the process, because, now the applicants know what we're looking for instead of, just coming, in with whatever design and, getting it turned away because, they don't understand what we're, looking for. So, if we can probably get started on something like that, it like a update to that section. And then besides that, staff's been doing a great job, and I'm glad that a lot of people came out to give their opinions on the different projects.
Okay.
All right. I guess I'll go next. I just wanted to start with, I really appreciate everyone who came out to voice their opinions. Thank you all for doing that. Staff, I know this was a lot of stuff to prepare and get over, so I appreciate you guys and your diligence in getting that done. It really does help in making these decisions. I do want to say I'm glad the way that we went here. I think we should take a look at, as Jason has mentioned a couple of times, there are spaces where our code is just not very clear, doesn't give great direction, and we should one, take a look at ways that we can assist in clearing that up, if that is within our purview of kind of looking at some of these codes and figuring out how we can make them more clear. And also, I would like to just mention to my fellow commissioners that with this, with the entitlements part, we do have some agency when it comes to stopping these long wait times on these application processes. I do understand that it takes some time, but we do have the ability to actually have some kind of agency in that space. And the main reason I bring that up is when we looked at the concerns voiced by the community here, that was one of the main things that was brought up, was the long wait times here, and was one of the few things that we didn't really get into that much, which is fine in this case, but it's just for future reference, things that we can do, places where we can still, be advocates from this space. Other than that, I hope everybody's being safe. Looking at the end of this pandemic thing, if that's what we want to call it, an end. Some form of normalcy coming back. I hope everybody's enjoying it. As no staff is back in the office, I hope you guys are enjoying / okay with that part of this phase here. Other than that, thanks.
If I could just add one thing to your comment, Commissioner Richard, is that we as staff know that there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up in our code, a lot of changes that we'd like to make. We have a running list of that, in fact, and it's sometimes really hard to prioritize that when we have our day-to-day applications and processing that we need to do. So what would be helpful for us is, should you feel that there's something that really needs to be cleaned up sooner rather than later, please tell us. We'll put it on the agenda. We will talk about it, and then that will help us kind of prioritize that as something that we need to do. Because we do know there's a lot that needs to get done, and sometimes we kind of need that guidance from you, and that's okay for you to tell us. We would like you to make these changes and look at this particular section. That would be helpful to us. I think Greg would agree, Art would agree, Maria also. Just let us know what's high priority for you guys, and then we can start to work that way.
That works, and I'm glad you said that because I didn't want to say and like overstep bounds, but to ask the question, are we able to, as the commission, really like look into some of those things, propose changes, or help in that process of crafting those new ordinances? I know that becomes a staff thing, like or more of a city thing. You have to do that, but is that something where we can actually lend that help? And
I don't know if you watched our recent special meeting, but I did request $250,000 to address our general plan along with our zoning code. It seemed to pass muster, although the budget's not approved. And if that does get approved, you will be sure to be heavily involved with that process. So you'll probably regret what you said, Commissioner Richard.
hey, it happens a lot. I'm the over volunteer of my space, so I'm quite used to eating those words. So I'm here for it.
So if I may, just to continue on that. So it does seem that it is necessary to clarify some of these requirements because, for example, the specific plan for the hotel zone, it assumed a very simplistic guidelines, that don't really consider the transition of the neighborhood. So is that something that we should say we should identify now to put it on the future agenda for discussion, or is it too early and we really won't be able, or staff really won't be able to work on that until the budget gets approved? So maybe we should table it for when that budget does get approved.
That's where you're coming from, is the downtown specific plan. And so I think that's not a small feat to undertake. We can put it on the list, but I can probably tell you, taking a look at that, it may take a little bit longer. It's not an easy process, but we'll definitely put that on our list of to-dos to relook at some of the specifics there to implement the downtown specific plan. I don't believe that when the specific plan was adopted, they actually went forward with additional steps to identify other, implementation strategies or standards. So maybe that's something we can go back and take a look at.
Good. Okay. Any other commissioners have anything else? Okay. If there isn't anything further from the commissioners, and these meetings are adjourned at 7:43 p.m.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.